Hi everybody, this is Carl from Abundant Living Ecuador, and today I wanted to share a little bit of an update with you guys. This is a bit of an unusual video. I will just improvise off the cuff, tell you a little bit about my story. By the way, this is not a clickbait. I had a stroke. I had an ischemic stroke. It was very scary, and I wanted to share my experience with you guys. This is, of course, for our viewers of our YouTube channel, but also for friends, families, and yeah, basically, I had a stroke. I was coming back from, so basically we're in Canada right now, me and my family. We have been here for a few months, for 3 months actually. And yeah, so I was coming back from a bike ride. My family wasn't home. I was alone. And my blood pressure was a bit higher. I had been drinking quite a bit of coffee, or actually taking a pre-workout, which was a bit high in caffeine. So probably my blood pressure was significantly higher from the caffeine and also the bike ride, because exercise, stimulates your blood pressure. And basically I came back home, and this is a very embarrassing thing to say, but I'm going to say it because, a lot of people don't know it. Well, some of my friends actually are not aware of this detail, but also I wanted to prevent you guys from getting a stroke, and I just, this is going to be an embarrassing thing, but it is what it is. So anyways, I was taking a lot of Vega protein powder, which is a vegan protein powder, and I was actually quite constipated. I'd been taking it for maybe a week, but I was taking significant amounts of it, probably like 4 to 5 portions a day or something like that, which would equal to, maybe 120 to 150 grams of protein from the Vega protein powder. And so I was quite constipated, and basically I went on the toilet, and yeah, it is what it is. And I strained a lot, so I used a lot of my ab muscle. I was kind of red in the face, like I really was trying to go to the toilet. And basically the stroke happened. So my right arm was completely paralyzed. Actually, my right arm was up, but I could not control it. So basically, but it was like up like that, and I had control over my left arm. So I kept feeling like, is this gonna come back or whatever? I laid on the bed, closed my eyes, stood up, and then I regained control of my arm. It was so scary. Wow. I mean, it was really, really scary to lose control of your arm like that. But it was quite a relief for me to actually be able to use my arm again. I was like, wow, okay. And first of all, I didn't know I had a stroke. I didn't know what a stroke felt like. I had no idea. And then one thing I noticed was I couldn't speak. I could not speak at all, like not a word, zero. I actually tried to pray, and I could not pray. I could not speak. But it was super scary. And I heard my mother-in-law coming back home in the driveway. So I went out and was trying to speak with her. And I was like, could not speak at all. And my mother-in-law was like, Carl, what's going on? Are you okay? And I was like, just couldn't speak at all. So she actually went. She actually drove off and went to see my wife and children. And in the meantime, my wife called me, got over the phone, and all I could say was okay. So my wife was on the phone, and she was like, Carl, what's going on? Are you okay? And, and I was like, okay. She thought I was kidding. She thought I was making a joke. I was being rude or something. Anyways, she came back home. I was able to speak, words started coming back to me slowly. So I was able to, say a few words, basically could not make a sentence, but I was feeling good in my body. I was feeling okay. I was feeling fine. I was like, okay, Well, I went for a walk right after the stroke. Then the next day I went for a long walk, a hike up the mountain, went up to the ocean, you know, and for like a 3 hour walk, and I felt completely fine, like in my physical body. I felt really good. So we started looking up, basically symptoms of a stroke. A friend of ours, actually, a couple, they're very dear to us. He basically, my wife and him basically pinpointed that I had a stroke. Like I had basically all the symptoms of stroke, and I was like, okay, well, that's basically what I had, right? So we started writing to a few friends and stuff like that, and basically the word, got out, and a lot of people started contacting us and say like, hey, let's go to the hospital. Many people were saying, let's go to the hospital. Maybe you could have another stroke. Basically, lots of people wanted me to go to the hospital. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And also I was feeling like probably it was the anxiety of thinking I might have another stroke, because people were saying like some person that was a nurse or people that were medically inclined, they were like, you could have another stroke. So go to the hospital to find out what it is, right? So probably, my mind was like, okay, I probably need to go to the hospital, but I was feeling like fear, anxiety. I was like, okay, and then it felt like, I felt probably like very, very fearful, like maybe my mind was thinking I could have another stroke. So I was like, okay, let's go to the hospital, right? So it was the morning. I went to the emergency room in Victoria General Hospital. And basically I said, I had a stroke. And then the nurse said, how do you know you had a stroke? And I was like, well, I can't speak. I have aphasia, which is, the language part of the brain that shuts down. I have aphasia. My arm was numb. I was very limited with my words, but I could speak a little bit, right? And Roxy was there, my wife, who's been very supportive and super amazing. And so I went to the emergency doctor. The emergency doctor said, well, you don't really have any of the risk factors. I don't smoke. I'm relatively healthy in a way. I don't have high blood pressure. They tested my blood pressure. It was quite low and stuff like that. They did a blood test, I believe. Anyways, and he said, you don't really have any of the risk factors. You're young. So I don't think it's a stroke. You probably didn't have a stroke, but you probably have some very strong migraines, and we will give you some migraine pills and some anxiety pills or something like that, or some medicine. I think it would be intravenously or whatever. But anyways, and I was like, no, I had a stroke. And then he's like, are you a doctor? And my wife, he said to my wife, are you a doctor? And he was kind of offended. But anyways, the point is, he said, well, because I also didn't want to take the medicine, right, for migraines. And I was like, I don't have migraines. I don't even have migraines, in my head. But he's like, he got a little bit frustrated. But anyway, he's like, okay, well, go get a CT scan, and then we'll find out if you had something else. And so, but anyways, I went to the CT scan. It was so the environment was very anxiety causing for me. Went to the CT scan. I mean, I never had a CT scan. I never had an MRI. I never had an ultrasound. I never had anything in my life. Went to the CT scan. The results came. He said, okay, let's meet together privately in a room. And I was like, and so he said, okay, so something, we found something on the CT scan. You have a mass in your brain. I don't know what it is, but we'll schedule you with the brain surgeon tomorrow morning. And I need you to stay in the emergency. I need you to stay in the hospital. And I don't know what it is now. I did see his report. He said it was like a tumor, basically, like a mass of some kind. I forget exactly the name. There were two, and then less likely an ischemic stroke. So, needless to say, I was panicked. I was fearful. I was scared. I felt symptoms in my body of like hot flashes and like dizziness and lightheadedness, and they were coming and going, and my heart was pounding, and it was like, I thought, oh, I have a tumor in my brain, okay? And I'm feeling those symptoms, those sensations from the tumor or whatever, right? So 24 hours later, right? 24 hours, I was in the hospital. It took 24 hours for them to tell me, oh, the neurologist told me it was a stroke. It was an ischemic stroke. The clot is already removed. You know, you're going to recover. You're young. It's fine, you know. But basically those 24 hours, I was anxious, fearful, freaked out. I thought I was going to die in my sleep, literally, okay? I never had a medical issue. It's like, I keep hammering that point, but it was like so foreign to me. I'm like, I have a tumor in my brain, or maybe I had some kind of parasites, because I didn't know, but something showed up on the brain, right? And, you know, living in South America, living in the tropics, I went into the jungle, maybe I could have caught something and it made it into my brain or whatever, right? So I slept in the hospital. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I was super anxious. The nurse, basically, gosh, maybe it was more than 24 hours later, but yeah, basically the nurse, I woke up, you know, at night, and the nurse, I said, like, I'm having all those symptoms. I can't sleep. You know, I have like hot flashes. I feel like something's moving in my brain and stuff like that. And she was like, oh yeah, of course, you know, you have a mass in your brain, you know, and we'll schedule you you'll meet with the brain surgeon tomorrow and that kind of stuff. And it was just like so freaking, so scary, because, you know, maybe I thought I was going to die in my sleep, literally. I was like, well, first of all, I couldn't sleep, but, you know, but anyways, the point is that it was so anxiety causing. And basically I stayed in the hospital for 5 days. Well, something else that you might want to know. So actually I slept on a stretcher the first night. The next night I slept on a bed in the hallway, because there was no room available. And then I think the third day I slept in a room. And, you know, I didn't know what was going on. Well, of course I had a stroke, and I felt better knowing that I had a stroke. I mean, a stroke's a pretty bad deal, but you know, not as much as like some brain tumor, right? I slept in a room the third night or whatever, and there was 4 people in the room, 4 patients, men. The patient next to me, I believe he had a stroke. I'm sure, but I mean, most likely he had a stroke. But you know, basically the point that I'm wanting to make is that all of the patients at the neuroscience department were way worse off than me. They basically, most of them couldn't walk. Most of them were in their rooms. I basically didn't see them, but sometimes they would like walk with a walker. Sometimes they would like walk very slowly. I was fully capable of, you know, I was asking the nurse like 3, 4, 5 times a day, could I please go for a walk? Could I please go for a walk? Because you can't exit the ward yourself. And you know, I basically was going for a walk, going downstairs, going out, talking to people, there was like a little forested area that was super private. So I would sneak in there and basically sit on a rock and, you know, pray and do some stretching and stuff like that. The patients, the neuroscience department patients, which most likely had strokes, they were way worse off than me. And then the guy next to my bed, you know, it was so sad. It was so sad. I prayed for him, and I really, you know, I prayed for healing for him. But he had a tube in his mouth. He was like, basically couldn't really move. I mean, he was only in bed, could barely move. He would wake up in the night, and kind of gasp for air, like, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was so sad, man. I mean, poor guy. And it freaked me out also, you know, thinking that maybe I could have another stroke, or maybe I could be, you know, of course he was much older and all that stuff. But all right, so basically I took a whole bunch of series of tests. I did an MRI. I found out recently from the neurologist, all of my arteries are perfectly fine. They can't find any trace of arthrosclerosis, which is normal for my age, right? But I thought maybe I had a stroke because I had some hardening of the arteries. So it wasn't the case. So I did an MRI. Of course, they found out I had an ischemic stroke. I did they did an ultrasound of my legs. They couldn't find any clots or anything like that. So they couldn't find clots basically in my legs, which is also great. I did a heart. I did like an ultrasound of my heart to see that the normal, like basically everything was normal in the muscles of the heart and stuff. I wore a heart monitor. I wore a halter. I actually wore 2 halters in the hospital and out of the hospital, and also I wore a heart monitor for 2 weeks out of the hospital. They basically couldn't find anything wrong with my heart, which is very much a blessing. The only thing that they found is another test that I did at another hospital. They basically injected some bubbles intravenously, and they did an ultrasound of my heart, and basically the bubbles passed from the right side to the left side. All right, so it's what's called a PFO, a patent foramen ovale. There's a little hole between the chambers of my upper heart, the right and left atria. There's a little flap. So normally everyone at birth has a PFO, and it closes after birth, right? At some point. Mine didn't close, so there's a little hole in the left and right chamber of my heart, and basically it would have caused the stroke, right? So the neurologist says it's most likely because you don't have any clots in your body, which are most likely in the legs, but basically you don't have any clots. So most likely a little clot would have formed in the PFO, in the little hole, and with a Valsalva method, which is a blood pressure change. I don't really know exactly how it works, but actually many people have strokes in the gym. So doing deadlifts, doing squats, pressuring a lot. There's a blood pressure change. The little clot would have passed to the left side of the atria and went into the brain from the arteries. So yeah, basically this is what I have. There's the main cause. I mean, basically the neurologist is like, that's clearly the cause of the stroke. Now I was eating lots of blueberries, spinach, and protein powder, which contain a lot of vitamin K. Actually, which I don't really know exactly, but the neurologist said he doesn't recommend supplementing with vitamin K, which the protein powder was like 39% of my daily dose or my daily portion of vitamin K, and I was eating 5 portions a day, so maybe it was like 200% plus the spinach and all of that stuff. Potentially could have formed a little clot, whatever. So basically I have a PFO. I need to do in a few weeks a transesophageal echocardiogram. There's a little probe that they analyze the heart. They see how wide is the PFO, and how what shape is it, and then I could potentially do a procedure which the neurologist recommends, is to do a PFO closure, which they put a catheter through my vein, and there's a little device that they patch. They basically patch the hole. It's a stent. They basically patch the hole, and basically this is the situation. So anyways, I could say a lot more. I mean, I'm gonna say a little something there because so a month ago, so basically a month after the stroke, I woke up from a dream. I was having anxiety. So basically, I felt like I was going to the gym and I felt lightheaded, but normally, like, because I was feeling somewhat invincible back then, in a sense, before the stroke, I wouldn't actually probably have noticed, because it's like, no, nothing can happen to me. I can just lift heavy weights. I'm young. I'm whatever, like I was kind of reckless in some ways, to be honest. I didn't stretch at all. I would do, some crazy movements, like put on more weight and just, that kind of stuff. I wasn't being very wise about my workout sometimes. And so I probably wouldn't have really noticed. But after the stroke, I was anxious about potentially getting another stroke. I didn't really know, like, if I had a heart issue, because I got the results recently. I didn't know if I had some other risk factors of some kind. I didn't know, like, so it was kind of very anxiety causing to me, not knowing, and so basically I was feeling lightheaded after a workout. At some point I was having a conversation with a friend, and I felt like immense fear coming over me out of nowhere. Like, I felt like I was kind of passing out or something, or like this fear started coming over me. And so fast forward a month ago, I had a dream, and basically in my dream I was having another stroke or dying, or vice versa, basically. And I woke up from the dream, and my heart was pounding, and I have a little oximeter which calculates your heart rate and your pulse and your oxygen level. So I wore it. Well, I took it, and I was like, my heart is pounding so much after the dream. And I was like, I didn't know that a dream could cause you to panic. I was thinking, okay, maybe I have some kind of medical thing with my heart, because I didn't have the results of my heart. And you have something called arterial fibrillation. You have certain things that are potentially, they could create strokes and stuff like that, right? So I put the device on, and my heart rate was 148 beats per minute, which is extremely high. And I was testing it all the time. Normally my heart rate, it's not close, but I could show you. My heart rate is probably a little elevated because I'm talking and I'm a little excited, but my heart rate is typically between 50 and 60 beats per minute, pretty much always at rest. Like, I have a Garmin. Actually, let me see here. I have a Garmin. So, it's 85, but I am, it's 85, 84, and it's almost not technically accurate necessarily. But the point is, at rest, my Garmin it's always like between 50 and 55 when I'm laying down, when I'm asleep, because it calculates my heart rate when I'm asleep, and it deciphers whether I'm light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. So the point is that I woke up from a dream. My heart rate was 148. I woke up Roxy, and I was like, let's go to the hospital. Maybe I'm having some kind of heart issue or something like that, right? So went to the hospital. I said, like, I don't know, maybe I'm having a stroke, maybe I'm having a heart attack. And then the lady was like, she didn't seem fazed, because clearly I wasn't having a stroke or a heart attack, right? Because she'd be able to tell. But basically I went to the ER. They took a whole bunch of tests. Again, they did an EKG of my heart. I didn't have atrial fibrillation. I had elevated heart rate, which is technically called tachycardia, and because I was anxious and panicking, so they did an ultrasound of my aorta. They couldn't find anything. An aneurysm of the aorta, which is very concerning and life-threatening, but I didn't have that. And they also, I tested positive for D-dimer, which is I don't even know, it's a protein. Basically, it could break clot, but basically it does a whole bunch of things. Potentially, if you have a virus or COVID or something like that, you could test positive for D-dimer, and it was like 0.49, and I was like 0.59, so it wasn't that much over, but basically he said, well, the other test, it was an MRI, CT scan of my lungs and my chest to see if I had a clot in my lungs, right? I didn't have a clot in my lungs. So basically 12 plus hours later, the doctor said, like, you can go home, you know, you don't have any life-threatening issues and stuff like that. You have tachycardia, which is elevated heart rate, could be caused by anxiety, you know, but you have a heart monitor. I had a heart monitor at the time, so they were gonna analyze the heart monitor and find out what I had. So yeah, I went home, but basically I went to bed that night and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. I was having heart pounding. I was having some weird symptoms. I was having chills. I couldn't make myself comfortable. I was having anxiety, but I didn't know at the time that it was anxiety. I just thought I have some kind of medical underlying condition because I'm having all of those symptoms. I was having muscle twitches. My arm, my bicep was like boom, 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 you know? In my legs, my calves were like, bloop, bloop, bloop. They were just twitching. My eye was twitching, ding, 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 and it stopped, right? So I thought maybe I have some weird thing. Like I was looking up tachycardia, symptoms of tachycardia. Of course, you know, stress anxiety. It's, you know, one of the first ones, but I was overlooking it. I was like, probably I have some kind of, maybe I have a heart issue, or I didn't know the results of my heart monitor and stuff. So I thought maybe I have some kind of heart issue. I was looking into like stomach cancer, colon cancer, because it could cause tachycardia, right? Elevated heart rate, you know, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And yeah, basically couldn't sleep at all. So I woke up in the morning. Well, I didn't wake up in the morning. I was, you know, I couldn't sleep. And the next day I was like, all right, well, I was having anxiety all day and I was looking up some symptoms and it was just, you know, but basically I was like, all right, well, you know, I'm going to be able to sleep because it's like the second day that I can't sleep, right? Which, you know, normally I'm a very good sleeper. I sleep like a baby. Like normally in my whole life, Roxy can vouch for it. I lay down and, you know, I'm sleeping in 5 minutes, right? And so I normally never had any issues with sleeping. The second day, I go to bed, I take CBD oil, I take some L-theanine, I take magnesium, you know, I'm taking like stuff to calm down, right? And I can't sleep. And I'm literally like just about to fall asleep and I wake up and I just can't fall asleep. 3 a.m, right? And I ask my wife, you know, honey, like I wake her up or something and I say, you know, I probably need to go to the hospital. Probably they're gonna, you know, give me some anti-anxiety maybe, or give me some sleeping pills or something like that, and I'm just gonna be able to sleep. And my wife actually had the idea of calling some friends that they live in Europe, and you know, I won't mention their names, but they're just wonderful, wonderful couple. Super, you know, they've helped us with many things in the past, and they've helped and supported us, and you know, just they're just a very loving, kind couple. And she calls them and she's like, you know, talk to them. So I talk to them and they give me a lot of counseling and they give me, you know, a lot of support, and they ask me, you know, a lot of questions. Probably I had an hour-long conversation. It was 3 a.m, but they were in Europe, so it was daytime for them. And basically the wife, the lady, tells me that she used to have problems with tachycardia. She was experiencing tachycardia, elevated heart rate, for a while, and she mentioned the Wim Hof method to me. And so I had learned about Wim Hof a little bit. He's the Iceman. You know, he has a bunch of world records and stuff. But I never really like looked into it. The breathing technique. You know, sometimes I take cold showers. I go in the cold water and stuff like that in the rivers, right? But basically, so I hang up the phone, and she sent me a video, and I'm like, I was desperate. I couldn't sleep. It was the worst symptoms. I was having chills. I was having panic attacks. My heart was pounding. I was just like, I just couldn't get myself to sleep. I go and I watched the video, and it's a 5-round breathing technique. So there's 5 rounds, and basically you do a lot of hyperventilation. Then you exhale and you hold your breath. and for 30 seconds. And then the second round is 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So the fifth round, you hold your breath for 2.5 minutes, which is, quite intense, as you know. And so, but I did it. I did the whole thing. I did all the instructions. I did it. I was in bed, and then I finally finish it. I breathe deep and stuff, and then I just fall asleep. Like, I literally just fell asleep for, probably like 4 or 5 hours. It wasn't like it was maybe 8 in the morning, 8 or 9 in the morning or something, when I woke up. But I fell asleep. So I was like, okay, wow, this breathing technique saved my life. Literally, it kind of did save my life, to be honest. So all of that, I experienced, some anxiety, following the breathing technique and stuff. Like, I feel like basically my diagnosis is what I had was health anxiety. So I didn't know that anxiety could cause symptoms, right, of elevated heart rate, hot flashes, muscle twitches, headaches, that kind of chills, abdominal. I had an abdominal, it was like twitching in my abdomen. I think it was all caused by stress. It was like my ab muscle was twitching, but I thought maybe it's some organ, maybe I have stomach cancer, maybe I have some gastritis, maybe I have some, stomach ulcer or whatever, right? Anyways, so basically I was experiencing health anxiety. I was thinking, and it was almost like subtle, but it was almost subconscious, but I was like, clearly I have symptoms, therefore I might have some health condition. So it was basically a nightmare. Like, it was actually really scary, really terrifying. I prayed at night, when my family was asleep. I was like, God, have mercy, and please heal me of these things. And slowly but surely, basically, I'm back. I feel good. Basically, but it took a while. And I actually did a 3-day water fast, which I think resetted my nervous system. The breathing technique actually resets your nervous system. It goes into your autonomic nervous system. It's good for your immune system. It's good for stress, relaxation, insomnia, and all that. Honestly, this experience took a huge blow on my confidence, my self-confidence. I didn't know how long it was going to be till I recovered. I didn't know if I was going to even recover. I speak 3 languages fluently. French is my first language, but I also, of course, speak English and Spanish. And I couldn't put sentence together. I had a really hard time. I couldn't read. I couldn't send text messages. This was it took a really, really huge blow, because I didn't know where I was going to be able to provide for my family at all. And this was a very humbling experience. I hate to say this, but my wife tells me that she likes me better since I had the stroke, which is, quite unusual. But potentially I'm definitely more cognizant and compassionate over other people's suffering, because I've suffered to some extent. But what kept me going is trusting God, trusting the Lord. There's a proverb that says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, and He will make your path straight." And okay, I have to go. All right, so I just want to end the video by saying a few thank yous. First of all, thank you so much for people that have been praying for me, friends and family, and people that I don't even know. So many people got the word out to their churches and stuff like that. So thank you so much. It's very humbling experience that people were, have been praying for me so much. Also, thank you for many of my friends. I won't reveal their names, but this lovely couple who's out there in Europe, they've been really, really kind, helping, supporting, counseling me and stuff like that. Shout out to these guys. Also, my good buddy from Ecuador, Tristan, he's been really helpful. Actually, we were chatting in the hospital. He was checking in every single day, and just being very very kind, and asking me how I was doing, and giving me information over WhatsApp and stuff like that. Thank you so much, my brother. Also, I want to shout out to Pam, the speech therapist. If you're in Ecuador, she's a great speech therapist. I wasn't actually, basically, I could have gone to speech therapy in Canada, but they didn't refer me to speech therapy because they thought I could speak very well, because they thought I was like a quiet guy or something. But basically, my speech was pretty low there, and I had a few sessions, maybe 6 or 7 sessions or something like that, and basically regain my speech more or less. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but it's pretty much 90 to 95% maybe, let's say. So thank you so much, Pam. If you want to get in touch with her, shoot me a message, and we'll get in touch with Pam, speech therapist. Also, my in-laws, Faye and David, they've been really, really kind. We've been able to live in this beautiful little house here on their property, but also they've been taking care of our kids, and being very generous to us. So thank you so much, guys. Also, my mom, I want to say that, I want to share it with you that my mom flew as soon as I got the stroke. She flew basically as soon as I got to the hospital. She flew in from the West Coast, from the East Coast, Montreal, to the West Coast, Victoria. And she spent a month and a half here with us, and taking care of the kids, and cleaning and cooking, and just being a very, very, very beautiful mom. Thank you, Mom. I love you. And also, of course, my wife. My wife, who's been very supportive with me. She was bringing me juices, and I wasn't really eating the hospital food. Actually, she was bringing me some fresh juices. And supporting me, and being there at the hospital every single day, because I was for 5 days at the hospital. And thank you so much, honey. And basically, guys, if you like this type of content, please give us a thumbs up. Also, if you have any questions, I will be there in the comments, so give me any questions you might have, comments, criticisms, anything. I'd be happy to answer. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Also, if you like this type of content, one thing I was thinking, potentially me and my family, because we're going to be for a few months in Canada. I still need to get some tests done, some further tests, and I might need to get a procedure and stuff. So I have to be in Canada for a while. Also, actually, we have a retreat right now in October, and I really want to apologize for the people at the retreat that I wasn't able to be there. But of course, you're in good hands, and you're gonna have a great time. But I just wanted to share that with you, because I was planning on going back to Ecuador, of course, Vilcabamba, for this retreat. Anyways, if you like this type of content, or also if you'd like to to see documented what are we doing, me and my family here in Ecuador, maybe comparing things from in Canada, maybe comparing the things in Canada to Ecuador and all of that, share it in the comments down below. Maybe we'll get some vlogs here done in Victoria, comparing prices, maybe at the grocery store or something, from Ecuador and stuff. There you go. My son is right here. He just came home.
Hi.
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, we hope to see you here in Ecuador one day. So until then,
We'll see you next time.